Fresh herbs are delightful, everyone knows that, but you want to cut them nicely or else they taste like they came out of the back of a lawnmower. Today I'm going to show you how to slice them and chop them really nicely so you get all the flavor in your food, not in your cutting board. There's 3 techniques that apply to 3 different groups of herbs. We have things like parsley that are a bit bushy and robust. We've got delicate and flat herbs like mint and basil. Then we also have the stemmy, woody types of herbs, oregano, rosemary, and thyme. I'll show you 3 different techniques for cutting those types of herbs. First, the bushy herbs. We got this nice head here of some curly parsley. You could also use this same technique with something like Italian parsley. It's a little bit of a tougher herb. It's not going to bruise as badly if I squish it. But first what I do is I go along and I'll pop the head of the herbs, the leafy bits, off of the stems. Now you can certainly keep your stems. They're great in things like purees or in soups, and they add flavors to stocks. Now I got my herbs picked off of the stems. You don't have to waste the stems. You can chop them up finely as well. They're purely edible. Once we get to those woodier types though, maybe that's not what you want to use, but if you want to just have the leaf, here's a great way to chop it. You can chop it evenly without having to go over and over and over and over and over. That's not going to be great for the sharpness of your knife in the long run. Plus you're going to end up mulching your herbs. What I do with my bundle of parsley here is I take it all, I put it into the palm of my hand, and then I just compact it into a tighter ball shape. Now, I'm not trying to squish it and crunch it, but I do have a firm grip on it, and I'm going to put it down on the cutting board with my fingers putting pressure on it, and then I'm just going to slide the knife over it. As I slide the knife and I get towards my fingers, I pull back and the bunch of herbs starts to push out from underneath my fingers, and I just continue making thin little slices. So when I have all these nice little bits chopped, I'm not going to have to go back over it again and again and again. If you're finding that you've got some big leaves that aren't being sliced, what you can do is use a smaller bundle of herbs. This is a really fast technique, so if you have to do it in a few batches, you're still going to be ahead of the game. Now I've got this nicely chopped herbs. If I did want to go over it and make it fine though, I would suggest when you're doing the chopping technique like this, you make sure you're not putting a ton of pressure with your hand on the tip of the knife. You're just doing it to keep the knife from bouncing around, so you can just rest your hand on top of it, and then you can go over it back and forth like this. Again, when you're trying to keep your knife sharp and not dull it, don't drag the edge of your knife across the cutting board in a way that you can hear it scraping. That's not friendly for your edge. Next, I'm going to chop this mint for you. We're going to talk about how to chiffonade herbs. That's a fancy French word for cutting tiny little strips of herbs. I'm going to pluck each little leaf off and I'm going to stack them up together. That way I can roll them, and just like the parsley tucked into a bunch, I'll be able to just do small little slices to get a nice even cut across the herbs. When you're chopping soft herbs like this, you want to avoid hammering them with your knife. That's going to bruise them even more and you'll lose the flavor right away. You'll end up putting something that actually tastes kind of dirty and bitter in your food. Now I have these leaves, I'm going to gently roll them. Now I've got them all folded up in this little bundle, and then I can simply just make little slices across the bunch of herbs, and I'll get nice thin little strips. And then you add this to your food at the very last second, especially if it's hot, because you don't want those flavors that are so gentle, so nice, to rise up out of the food before you get a chance to eat it. And there we have a fine little chiffonade of mint. Let's talk about how to cut these woody, stemmy types of herbs nicely. Things like oregano here, rosemary, thyme, all have like a little stick that the leaves attach to. So what you really want to do is take all the stems out before you try cutting them. They get stuck in your teeth, and if you've got really big, strong herbs, that woody stem can actually be hard enough to chip a knife if you've got a really fine edge on it. So I just go through first, pluck all of the leaves off of the stems until I've got a little bundle of herbs to work with. Now I've picked all the woody stems here out of my oregano leaves, so I can now use these either just whole like this in something, or I can go over and chop them. Somewhat like the parsley, I can roll it into a little ball. Again, not applying a whole bunch of pressure to avoid squishing it. And then I gently just slice the herbs. I'm really just using the weight of the knife. As I pick it up, I slide the knife forwards, making that slicing motion, and then let the weight of the knife fall through the herbs. As I'm doing this, the knife is just slicing through the leaf of the herb, and I'm not crunching it, pounding all the flavor out of it. There you have it, freshly chopped oregano. Thanks for watching the herb video. I hope you got some new techniques there. Try them out, see how they work. If you liked the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, check out our links to our website. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're happy to meet you online or come down into one of our stores, either in Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa, or Vancouver. We'd love to chat with you. Hope to see you soon.